Hi and welcome to Apple Cottage. This is Sandy. It's Tuesday morning, so it's gardening together. So instead of talking about a vegetable today, I'm going to talk about slugs, the menace of the garden. Now, slugs can really just decimate parts of your garden. If you have a strawberry patch, have you ever went to pick that beautiful, perfect looking strawberry? You pick it, on the bottom side, something has eaten out of it. That was probably a slug. You've grabbed a tomato and there's a hole in it. That's probably a slug. Now there's lots of vegetables that slugs will eat. They love hostices, tomatoes, strawberries, lettuce, okra, calendulas as a flower. They'll eat a lot of the leaves on that flower. Now what is a slug? A slug is kind of like a snail without a shell. It's slimy, it's soft-bodied, it doesn't have legs, it's squishy, and they are terrorists. Slugs are terrorists in your garden. They have two sets of feelers, little antenna-like things protruding out of the front of them. The long set is actually how they see. They have little eyes on them. The short set is how they smell. Now slugs may surprise you, but they actually have tiny sets of teeth. And that's how they chew and chomp and cut and scrape and scratch onto those leaves and fruit. They lay clear eggs, so it's very difficult to find. If they lay in the springtime, it takes about 3 months for them to mature. If they lay in the fall, those eggs will kind of stay dormant until it gets a little bit warmer in the springtime, and they'll hatch. All slugs take about 3 months at least to mature. Some types will take 6 months. Now, slugs are such a wet-bodied animal, creature, insect. It's not really it's not an insect. They're just a slug. And they need water. So if you have a rainy season, if you have a well-watered garden, you have a lot of humidity, you'll have more slugs. So if you can cut down somewhat on the watering, or if you water in the morning so it has a lot of time to dry out before it gets evening, you will have less slugs, because slugs are most active at nighttime. And a lot of times during the day, they'll hide under leaves or debris or boards. Anything that just sits where it can be cool underneath, they'll hide. Even in the cracks of a soil, they can hide. And then they really become active at nighttime, or on a rainy, cloudy day, a lot of times they'll be active. Now they leave a slime trail. So during the daytime, if you see that slime trail, you can follow it and sometimes find them. But the easiest way to find them, there's two easy ways to find them, is at night. If you go out in your garden with a flashlight, you can be turning over leaves, you can look at fruit, and you can find them, and you can just have a bucket with you and just drop them in there. I like to lay boards out, or rolls of wet kind of damp newspaper, and in the morning, they've done their work for the night, and so they'll hide underneath those boards or in that wet newspaper, and I can just turn it over, pick up all the slugs, throw them in a bucket. The newspaper, sometimes they'll go right into that rolled up newspaper, and you can just dispose of that. I know some people will take slices or halves of oranges or grapefruits and lay the fruit side down onto the soil and pick it up in the morning, and there'll be all kinds of slugs. A trick to look at is, if you're buying plants from the garden center, just turn the plant over and take it out of the container. Sometimes you'll find slugs in there. Don't buy that plant. Pick another one. Because they want to hide during the daytime. Now there are creatures that love to eat them. My garter snakes love slugs. Now some people don't want garter snakes in the yard, but I don't mind mine at all. Beetles, there's certain types of beetles that will eat slugs. Toads, If you have ducks on your property, they love slugs. So if you can let them into your orchards or your gardens sometimes, they will just devour slugs. Same with snails. If you have a problem in your orchard with snails, you need some ducks. Now, starlings and other birds will eat them. There's turtles that will eat them. So if you have turtles in your area and they come into your gardens, they'll eat the slugs. And there's actually some parasitic insects, wasps, that will sting into the slug and lay their eggs in there. And that's kind of weird and crazy. And the larvae of fireflies will eat them. Now, the best time to find slugs is at night, of course, unless you're trailing them. And depending on where you live, sometimes that slime trail is harder to see. When we used to live in Washington, sometimes even in the house you would wake up and then you could see that slime trail. I never see slugs in my house here in Wyoming. Now, you will read, they'll tell you to just remove your mulch and your grass clippings and your leaf mold out of your garden. Well, that's okay in the springtime, but once it gets the middle of June and I need that mulch for retaining the water in the soil, I can't do that. And some people will tell you not to put boards down in your garden, but a lot of times I can just put a board down, and in the night they climb under there. In the morning I take it out. So that's not something I listen to either. Diatomaceous earth or eggshells will cut the underneath body of the snails and they will die from that. The one thing about diatomaceous earth, though, that anytime you water or it rains, it mats together and then it's not as effective with the slugs. Now, slugs love hospices, tomatoes, strawberries, lettuce, of course, okra, beans, calendulas. Surprisingly, they like the leaves on calendulas too. But what I have found to be the most effective way is copper. There's actually a chemical reaction between a slug and copper that's like electrical shock. And I find that very effective. In just a little bit, I'm going to show you my little technique of how I use my copper. There's other ways that you can make like a pie pan. You can make a shallow hole in the ground, put it down, put beer in it, or some people would put sugar, water, and yeast in it. And it is very effective that the slugs will go into it and they drown at night. But the problem is their sense of smell is not that far. And so you have to put a lot of them, or a lot of traps that you buy around your garden. You can't just put one and think it's going to fix your whole garden, because it won't. You have to put a lot of those traps around. And with those traps with beer, the sugar, water, and yeast, you just have to clean out and replace every couple days. So if you don't mind doing that, that's an easy, really inexpensive way to do it. I'm not really sure the beer is, but the sugar, water, and yeast is certainly inexpensive. But this is what I use around my plants. Now, this is just a PVC pipe that's sliced. It's cut. And I just happen to have a bunch of these sliced ones because I used them for a different project. They're about 1 inch wide, and these about 2.5 inches across. And I buy copper tape. I'll put a link below on where you can find the copper tape. And it's made by 3M. It comes in a roll like this. It's sticky on the inside, and so you just peel that paper back. And so I just take it and I wrap it around my PVC pipe. Now, because of weather, I put a copper wire around there too. And I just twist that with some pliers. Now, this is a perfect setup for like a tomato plant, because when I go to plant it, I'm going to slide the potting soil right through there and plant it all together when it's very young, when I'm very first planting it. Because when that slug comes and it touches this, it gets electrical shock and it won't climb up that tomato plant. Now another thing I do is after I plant it and I push my tomato cage or my trellis or whatever is going to be onto the ground, I also have to put some kind of copper there, because just because it can't get up the plant doesn't mean it's going to try to stop. So it'll try to climb the trellis or my tomato cage, or however I'm supporting my tomato cage. And so at the bottom of that, I can do one of two things. I can just twist some copper wire, or I can just put some copper tape on the legs of my tomato cage. Now, you can make these in any size. That doesn't matter. Whatever size PVC pipe you have. This doesn't work too well with strawberries though, because strawberries, they're growing. And though I can put it around the base, strawberries flop onto the ground. And so then you have to figure out some other way. So a lot of times around my strawberry plants, I'll have eggshells that I've stored, I've kept all my eggshells all winter long. I have a crock that I throw them in when I fry the eggs up, or when I'm cooking, baking, whatever I'm using the eggs for. And then when that crock gets full, I just dump it into a garbage bag. And then I just crunch those up. And I'll put those all around my strawberries. And that really helps, because slugs are terrorists of the garden. So I hope that this helps with slugs. Sometimes when you learn more about them, you can understand what to do and how to stop them. And always subscribe, like, share with the world. This is Sandy at Apple Cottage. I hope you have a great day. It's still dark here. The sun hasn't come up. Everybody is sleeping in my house still. The dogs haven't even woke up for the morning. But I hope you have a great day.